Alright guys, so this is Coach Steve Calarco from Stack Velocity Sports Performance in Norwood. I'm here with Coach Chris Rice, and today we're going to be talking about power development. Now, as an avid gym goer, you may see the Olympic lifts becoming very fashionable. We do know the secret to happiness is taking something heavy and putting it overhead. But I would argue that there may be safer alternatives to generating power, generating force, and high rates of force development without the danger of putting something overhead, especially if you don't possess the prerequisite mobility and stability to do so. So today we're going to talk about some of our alternatives and our go-to exercises when we talk about generating power or training power for our adult clients and athletes. Okay? So first of all, let's talk about the med ball slam. Okay, so Chris is going to step behind this med ball slam here. So one of the biggest mistakes that we see with med ball slams is people giving athletes or clients too heavy of a med ball. Okay, the goal is to generate a high amount of force and have the ball move at a very, very high speed or high velocity. And sometimes when you give somebody a 20-pound med ball, it starts to look more powder puff-ish, and we want it to look more like Darth Vader. Okay, so Chris is going to demonstrate what a med ball slam with a 20-pound would look like. Go ahead. One more rep. Okay, I would argue that that's way too heavy for him. So instead, I'm going to give him an 8. And Chris, give me 2 more reps, please. Harder. Okay, and you could start to see the difference. Okay, so when regards to med ball slams, okay, everything lives on a continuum and everything should be progressed accordingly. So in terms of med ball work, we always master the sagittal plane first, then we move into frontal plane, and then we move into more rotational or transverse plane work. Okay, so I'm going to demo how we would progress something further along the continuum, and this is a med ball shot put throw without a step. Okay, so right there, and good. 2 more, Chris. He's loading to the back hip, and you notice as he finishes, his back hip is actually facing the wall. Okay, when you rotate, okay, you want to make sure all the rotation is coming from the thoracic spine and from the hip. Okay, we don't want any rotation coming from the lumbar spine or the lower back. That's when bad things happen. Okay. All right. So next we're going to move to the box jump. Okay. So before we have anybody jump, we will obviously teach the snap down or the hip hinge position. But for the sake of this video, we'll assume that Chris knows how to do so. So he's going to start with his arms overhead. He's going to cock back and then jump and then land. Okay, and you notice how he lands in the snap down position. He doesn't land all the way down. I really don't like athletes or clients landing below parallel. I just think it's unnecessary. I just tell them to jump higher. So Chris did a really good job of demoing that. Okay. Moving on from there, one of my most favorite tools is the kettlebell swing. Okay, so a couple big cues that I want, and I'll reinforce for Chris, is that his shoulders to be packed, okay? I don't want him to be disconnected from the bell. And then also I'm gonna tell him to be patient with the swing. A lot of people, stand up Chris, a lot of people, or stronger people, tend to rush the swing and they don't get deep enough in the hinge, okay? So I really want the bell to come all the way through. We call this the biscuits in the oven pose, okay? And then he is going to exhale and let the bell float for as long as possible. Be patient and let the bell pull him into the deep hinge, okay? So Chris is gonna give me 6 reps here, okay? You start to notice when Chris was more patient with the bell and got deeper into his hinge, the swing obviously looked a lot better. Okay, and this is something that we would go through numerous progressions, teaching the kettlebell deadlift first, Obviously going over the hip hinge pattern first before having somebody swing a heavier bell, but you could tell swinging a bell or 32 up to the Beast, which is a 48 kilo bell, could obviously generate a ton of power without as much risk of injury, such as the Olympic lifts. So with this being said, these are some of our go-to exercises, and that everything could be progressed, okay? So we talked about how the med ball slam could be progressed. We also moved from the sagittal plane, or what's in front of you, to moving side to side, to adding some rotational power. So this is Steve Clarko from Velocity Sports Performance, and may the force be with you.